So if you haven't heard, another anti-ICE demonstration is taking the media by storm, this time outside the Newark ICE facility. But it's not as impactful as it seems, especially from even last year for the Portland as well as some of the other surrounding cities, especially the big Democratic cities. So let's talk about the major updates, implications, and what this means for this entire deep state war we are in and what's at large, and also some clues from the Q post. So let's get into it. So a lot essentially happened here, but essentially dueling protests, detainee hunger strikes, and nightly curfews have basically escalated tensions from this past entire week since I think around May 22nd, where around 300 detainees inside Delaney Hall launched some coordinated hunger and labor strike. And so they are claiming that through open letters and family advocates that alleged illegal abuse, deplorable living conditions, inedible food, and the lack of adequate medical care was happening. And so it sparked a lot of, again, this group of people that are coming, and whether they are just demonstrators or Antifa or just anti-ICE people, they were all called in together and they were just basically striking, going through a lot of unrest and spraying agents, chemical agents, pepper spray, and just a lot of stuff. And so essentially that had escalated. Now, if you remember last year, President Trump designated Antifa as a domestic terror organization. This was on September 22nd, 2025, during, I think, the peak of when Portland and all that stuff was happening. And at the time, he even requested on the 27th of last year, September, that at the request of the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, that he's directing the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any other ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. So he's saying this, and he's authorizing full force if necessary. And so there's been little bits and pieces here, but now this past week, just a lot has upgraded in terms of the unrest. I'm just going to scroll through Nick Sorter's page, but he does a good job because he was there directly reporting on some of these things where there's just been a lot of unrest, megaphone just speaking into the agents there, basic pushing and shoving, full-scale brawls and arrests, even rioters spraying unknown chemical agents. At the same time, ICE tasering rioters, even deploying pepper spray, and even a viral rioter who was threatening the death of some of these agents and their family, who was eventually arrested by FBI Director Kash Patel and just that side. And there were even American patriots coming out to support ICE, saying, "ICE, ICE, we love ICE, and we support ICE." And then just this whole back and forth of barricades being built and taken down. But really what we're seeing is that even ICE here mentioning that with cooperation from state and local law enforcement, law and order will prevail. A lot of people are actually being arrested. And even the governor here from New Jersey admitting that they're escalating, meaning the chaotic scene, that 5 out of 6 people arrested by state police were from outside New Jersey. And so people, liberals, are flying in and being bussed in to have this riot. And with all the allegations about human rights abuse and all that stuff, Homeland Security even had to post saying that fact, no law breakers in the history of human civilization have been better treated than illegal aliens. All detainees receive full due process and are provided comprehensive medical care and 3 meals a day. Our menu at Delaney Hall even includes a wide range of meals like fajitas, burritos, jambalaya, fruit, vegetables, salads, brownies, and cake, while sanctuary politicians continue to promote hoaxes about ICE detention facilities. We'll keep working to get criminal, illegal aliens out of our country. And again, this is a link to the New York Post here where they're showing and reporting on fajitas, stir fry, barbecue chicken, all that stuff. And so this was a big deal in terms of the narrative warfare that was going on to see the idea that ICE was bad and people are just being hooked, line, and sinkered into all this. And with all this activity, a lot more people are being rounded up. And even here, Homeland Security saying law and order and that anti-ICE riders are now fully kettled between 2 walls of concrete. And just a lot of activity and more cleanup happening. But the interesting thing here is that there isn't as much fanfare or pushback or this media coverage or the effect in some sense like Portland was last year and some of the other major Democratic cities. Remember, the effect of this over time is going to drop. QPost 4366 says Antifa mapping started a long time ago. And there are multiple posts, including 3613, 3721, and 3858, where it talks about and repeating some of the same lines. Why were violent mass terror orgs such as Antifa immediately funded? Why were these orgs masked with immediate intimidation / shutdown of any POTUS rally and or other events? Why were marches immediately organized to counter and silence pro-POTUS rally and or events? Why were marches immediately organized which divided people into sex / gender / racism? When you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. Control of the narrative equals power. When you are blind, what do you see? They want you divided by religion, divided by sex, divided by political affiliation, divided by class. When you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible, the controllers. And there's so many more posts about Antifa, cue prompting questions like who controls the fake news, why is Antifa allowed to incite violence, wear masks, make threats, carry weapons, and physically harm others who oppose their ideology, so on and so forth. Now, I want to read post 3411 because it does a great job just allowing us to see the bigger picture of what's going on and what the intent is of what Antifa, the anti-ICE protesters, and these guys are doing. You are witnessing the greatest coordinated misinformation attack campaign ever to be launched against the public, all in an effort to protect themselves from prosecution, public exposure, and regain power, control. Attempted removal of the duly elected president of the United States by illegal manufactured means. They believe they could win. Con, public support by controlled assets, media, tech, Hollywood. These controlled assets set out to immediately create division through the use of a pre-designed misinformation campaign. Groups such as Antifa were funded and formed to prevent and or lessen the appeal for regular hardworking Americans to gather and express non-narrative viewpoints. Control of this projected narrative depends primarily on their ability to con the masses into thinking they are the majority, the mindset of most. If the majority of people believe this, then this must be more true than that. And here referencing CIA class, human psyche, and emotional distress. Without public support, they are powerless. We, the people, hold the power. United, we are strong. So realize that what they are doing right now is trying to pit you against ICE. They're trying to pit you against a certain ideology of it being good but being masked as bad. Again, the point of Trump's policies and the ICE is to remove illegal aliens, and a lot of times the criminals that have come into the country. Again, if you want to come as an alien, you have to do it through the proper measures, through the proper ports of entry. And a lot of what's happening here is illegal in that sense. But the messaging has been so convoluted that they have to bring attention to other humane things, which of course is valid in terms of making sure that people are humanely treated, they're fed and kept and all that stuff. But again, what they're doing is they're trying to confuse and mix two things so that you would get upset and angry about this. And then as the post mentions, that they take something small and make it bigger and appear like it's a majority viewpoint. But that's not the case right now. The emphasis, the impact, and the effectiveness is dwindling, in my opinion. So compared to last year, the effect of what's happening now isn't impacting people as much. And so there's been fatigue. There have been people that are just tired of it. And so it's not as impactful and people are over it, meaning they understand the tactics of what's happening to try to brainwash you. But people are waking up. And then post 1585 here says, we stand, we fight together, organized riots being planned, countermeasures in place, resistance far smaller than portrayed by MSM. Attacks will intensify. You collectively are a massive threat. Censorship applied to scale down impact / reach. It's failing. Trust yourself. Public awakening. So again, I'm seeing this as a last-ditch effort before the midterms and also just throughout the course of Trump's presidency as more of the deep state proxy armies and their foot soldiers are being taken out. And this is what we're seeing, last-ditch efforts. You're seeing coordinated efforts to try to fund and try to bring people out of state to come here, but all of that is not working. And the impact of that is dwindling. People are waking up to what the real truth is as they research it. The media right now, they're spinning this also in a certain way, but they can't help but report the truth as a lot of this is coming out. And the truth being that it's actually okay. It's not as bad as they're painting it out to be. In fact, it's good. So understand the tactic, be discerning, and make sure, above all, you think for yourself, but with the help of the Lord, with the Holy Spirit. So be blessed, be encouraged, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And also, if you guys want to help me out, you guys know I'm in a season of transition. Would love all the support, especially financially, that I can get. All the information with what I'm doing is in the link in the description down below if you guys want to help me out. Also through PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, would love it. Thank you guys so much. More to come. Talk to you guys very soon.